Good morning, Marbella. Welcome to the pool. This is a special moment. We are some guys behind this venture, the pool venture, and we were the same kind of people that you guys. You want to do things. So we found out when we moved here that we can't work from the golf club, and you can't work from the cafe. So this is the pool. And our vision was to, bring Silicon Valley to Marbella and this region. And so we were a bunch of guys doing this. So we have my business partner, Johan. Where are you? There he is. And then we have Douglas Gouillet, the local French Spaniard. And then we're also Martin. I don't think he's here now. And Christian, where are you? There he is. And Christian is doing a great job. He's the CEO here. And then we have fantastic people behind us, investors like Tobias, Impact Energy in Spain, German, but I would say more Spanish. And then we have Andreas Mihalovic. Where are you? There you are. And he's also behind the pool. So we have been doing a movement, and this little baby is going to turn 1 year on Friday. And it was so fun because we have been talking in this group of it's going to happen, it's going to be the new Silicon Valley, it's Europe's Silicon Valley. And we said, yeah, and I heard that it's, Americans and Northern Americans coming here. Yeah, right. We will continue. And then suddenly Johan came to me and said, oh my God, I met these Canadians from Silicon Valley. They're here now, it's happening now. So, and actually, he was completely right. This is the day where the Canadians took over the region. So now we are nice to serve the European Silicon Valley that they brought. So, Christine and Razer, thank you. Welcome. This is your show.
Thank you, Frederick. Big round of applause for Frederick. Frederick and his team had the vision to create the pool. And for anyone who knows how difficult creating anything in Spain is, don't get me wrong, I love Marbella. It's not easy. And that's why you need the Swedish dream team to make something like this happen. And we show up at the exact right time, right? The pool is opening, the buzz in Marbella is happening. You've all read the press. It's the #1 destination in Europe. The Marbella-Malaga corridor is the best place on the planet for expats, right? And there's this energy that, when we moved to Silicon Valley in 2010, after the financial crisis, you just saw this community coming together and sort of picking themselves up and creating, really what we know as Silicon Valley today. But I think that the opportunity we have in Marbella is to do it the European way, okay? So nothing better than 2 Canadians to tell you how to do it the European way. I'm just kidding. We're here to listen and learn, so please keep giving us your feedback and advice. But we really think that there is such an opportunity. The more time we spend here, the more amazing, young founders that are building companies. The next unicorn is going to come from Spain in this region. And there's so many people that are part of what we're doing at Elevate. 19 nationalities are represented in the last 48 days. 19 nationalities. Applause to all of you that came out and took the time to be a part of Elevate. For those of you who this is their first Elevate experience, I want to sort of take you back to 2015. Carrie, my soulmate, and I were living in Silicon Valley. We had just sold our company, and we were deciding where do we want to spend our lives, and we decided to move back to Canada and start a not-for-profit called Elevate. What I did love about Silicon Valley is that there's so much energy and so much passion in the region, and they have such amazing ambition around what they can create. But what I found when I was, in the sort of, Sequoia was our lead investor, and so you're in their suppers, or I was in YPO, and in some of these really small, exclusive tech circles where really the decisions get made. While I was so privileged to be in those circles, what I noticed is it was generally one demographic that was deciding for all of us, right? And you know what that demographic is, right? If you're a male, if you're white, straight, under 40, bonus points if you look like Mark Zuckerberg. VCs love giving people that look like Mark Zuckerberg money. I don't know what it is. But we believe that talent is widely distributed. Look at this room. Yet opportunity is highly concentrated. And if we're going to solve the challenges that we're facing as a society today, we need everyone to participate. We need everyone's creativity. We need everyone's talents at the room. And so when we created Elevate, it was the platform for everybody, right? I'm so proud to say after 7 years, we've had, the people that have spoken on our stage, 57% of them identify as women, 37% of them identify as diverse. And the importance of having people with different backgrounds, diverse perspective, diverse thoughts, right? It just brings a different experience around problem solving. And so we've been really passionate about that from the beginning and honored that so many people have supported Elevate from the beginning. And I think back to the years, when Google CEO Eric Schmidt announced their smart city in Toronto, him and Al Gore did it on the Elevate stage. When Michelle Obama finished her global book tour after being First Lady, Claudette McGowan, is she in the room? Did I see Claudette? One of our Elevate board members and Michelle Obama, were on the Elevate stage. 1 year ago today, when Sam Altman did his global tour about the harms of AI, he was at Elevate 1 year ago today, and he was at US Congress 1 year ago tomorrow. So we're really privileged that those people have chosen that platform, that have joined our mission. And this is the first time that Elevate is doing anything outside of North America. So this is a little historic moment for us because we want to create a global movement that supports female founders, diverse founders, and their allies to create the next great tech companies here from Europe. And you can see that I'm a fan of Europe. I walked here with Carrie. It's just down the road. Our kids go to school at Swans. Our office is here. We're not going anywhere. We think Europe is amazing, and you're not getting rid of us. So the Canadians are coming, right? The Canadians are coming, okay? And so it's such a privilege and an honor to have all of you join us, be a part of the movement that we started, 7 years ago, and it's just gaining momentum. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce my co-founder at Elevate Forum, Christine Holmes.
Thank you. And now I would love to introduce Dheeraj. He is the co-founder of Shazam, one of the most downloaded apps in history. They sold it to Apple in 2018, which was crazy because Apple doesn't buy anything. But we met Dheeraj just a few months ago, and within 5 minutes of meeting him, it felt like we had known him for years. He is such a kind human, and when we decided to have a keynote presentation, I knew immediately that I wanted to ask Dheeraj to speak. He's going to talk a little bit about his journey at Shazam, but really focus on his impact investing, which is what inspires me about him so much. Since exiting Shazam, he has invested in over 70 female and diverse founders, which makes his personal mission align perfectly with Elevate. So please give it up for Dheeraj.
I'm so delighted to be here. I was able to celebrate my 55th birthday in Marbella a couple of days ago. Thank you very much. I've never been to Marbella before. I'm from India. I grew up all over the world. I lived in Paris and in Geneva and in Athens and in Singapore and in Tokyo. And to be here in this sunshine and with the warmth of the company that I felt was just fantastic. And the reason I'm here is not to talk about being old and foolish. It's about, I'm a recovering entrepreneur. When we started out at Shazam, the year was 2000, which feels like, just an age ago. And it was a time when Silicon Valley was just almost in its infancy. The Netscape browser had just been launched a few years ago. The technology boom was in full swing. Everyone and their dog wanted to be an entrepreneur. And that's how I fell into this game of starting a company. Now, my business partners and I, we just had this dream, this ambition, and I think I can relate to the entrepreneurs in the room who have an idea of building a business. we didn't even have an idea when we started out. We just wanted to be entrepreneurs. And so we'd go to the pub and, just try to come up with something. And it was a miserable experience because it turns out if you're drinking and trying to ideate at the same time, it doesn't work. My business partner, Chris, he would hear music and he wouldn't know what the song was. And he always thought it would be fantastic if there was a way to find out. And that's how the idea for Shazam was born. To be able to use a mobile phone to identify music anywhere you go, whether it's on the radio or in a club or a bar or a pub. And that's how we started out. Now, I can go on for a long time telling you about the journey, which went from, we didn't even know, what domain of technology we were supposed to be involved with to try to invent this algorithm. It turns out it was digital signal processing. And the experts were at Stanford and Berkeley, right in the heart of Silicon Valley. We didn't actually have any music at all. So we had to create the database of music from scratch, building on CDs, which we encoded by hand in a gigantic warehouse. I'm being laughed at by the front row in the audience. We didn't have a business model. We thought we were going to sell CDs, but no one was buying CDs at the time. It was all about Napster and downloading music. And to cut a long story short, what ended up happening was that we were on the brink of bankruptcy. We raised $8.5 million just before the dot-com bubble burst, and we built a business which was deeply unprofitable and burning cash. And we were sitting there going, what do we do? And what we had to do was we had to sell the technology we had developed just to keep the lights on and just to keep going. And it was painful. People I had worked with from day one, people I'd spent like hours with, I had to lay them off just because we couldn't keep the lights on. And then something changed. And what changed was when the iPhone launched in 2007, and when the App Store launched in 2008, and Shazam became an app. And then people could use it on their new device, and Apple would advertise, like people didn't know what an app was. And they said, you can use this new thing to identify music wherever you go. And everything changed for us. And what changed was that for the first 10 years, people would forget, like, what's the number you need to dial to use this service? And it was a text message with the name of the song and the artist, but half the time wouldn't get delivered. And then when the app was launched, then things changed. It took us 10 years to get to the first billion times that Shazam was used. The next billion took just 1 year. And the next billion took 2 months after that. So it's just this crazy exponential growth, which came from finding the right experience for the user. And I remember this was in 2009. We were the first investment by a famous Silicon Valley venture capital firm called Kleiner Perkins, Caulfield and Byers. We were the first investment they made outside North America. And at the time, Al Gore was one of the partners at Kleiner Perkins. And he said, I want to come and do a talk for this little company that we've invested in across the pond. And we were really nervous. This is the former vice president of the United States coming to do a talk for a company which was roughly this size, about 100 people, a couple of hundred people. And I'll never forget when Al stood on stage and he told us about his vision, what he was concerned about, which was all about climate change. He had made a movie called An Inconvenient Truth, and this was his passion. And at the time, it was called global warming. And it wasn't something which I was particularly aware of. But being in that audience and hearing his words and how invested he was in making the change he wanted to see happen, I'll never forget that. And that really changed things for me and made me understand the responsibility which we have for the actions that we take today and the future. The Shazam story has a happy ending. What ended up happening was when the usage took off and revenues finally started coming back in, we were able to buy back our technology, and we sold the business to Apple in 2018. But when I look back, it's just ridiculous because we started out aiming for overnight success. It took us 18 years to achieve that. It didn't work particularly well. But what I felt I was left with was this sense that actually, the best way to predict the future is to create it. We had the privilege to create that category, and I have the privilege of being invited to share my story here today because it still lives on. My brother Mohit works for the University of Peace in Costa Rica. And I spoke to some of his students, and I said, when do you expect to achieve peace? Is it going to be next week? Is it going to be next month? Like, no, we take a 20-year perspective. And, in a culture of impatience, in a culture of, overnight kind of building and creating, 20 years feels like a really long time. But I think that's what we're all signed up for. This is what we are, setting the stage for the future. I had another fantastic experience, which was hearing Paul Polman, who is the CEO of Unilever, sharing his thoughts. Now, Paul is somebody who is so open with his ideas. Not only did he lead Unilever as a company, fundamentally change the practices of the business, he also made sure that all the suppliers that were part of Unilever's supply chain changed their practices to be more sustainable, more inclusive, and encourage diversity. From Paul, I learned about the Sustainable Development Goals. Are people familiar with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? Okay, fantastic. It's 17 different areas that, as businesses and society, we can make a difference, from equality to addressing poverty to use of water. And the one which I'm particularly passionate about is climate action, which is number 13. Now, I wanted to do something which had an impact, which gave back, which was meaningful, but I didn't know where to start. It's a well-worn path for entrepreneurs to become investors. So I thought, okay, what do I do? I'd spent some time working for Save the Children after my time at Shazam because I wanted to do something which gave back. And that gave me a huge belief in the power of young people. So I thought, I know what, I'm going to ask some young people to help me out. So I organized a competition at the London School of Economics. I said, hey, I want to be an impact investor, but I know nothing about the domain. So let's start with renewable energy. Can people help me come up with some ideas and educate me about this domain? And this competition sort of went rogue. It escaped from London, and I had teams who were competing from Singapore all the way to Toronto. And looking at different domains like biomass and floating solar panels. And I had a couple of 19-year-olds who sent me an email in the middle of the competition and said, we're working on this geothermal energy domain, and there's a company in North America which might be interesting for you, but they're raising a round now. If you want to get involved, you have to get involved now. So I sent the CEO an email. She responded right away. I did the due diligence, and I decided to invest. The company is called Dandelion Energy, and it's backed by Bill Gates' Breakthrough Energy Ventures, as well as Google Ventures. It came out of the Google X, the Moonshot Factory. And what they're doing is they're drilling into the ground and using the heat of the earth to power homes, both for heating as well as cooling. And this was brilliant because it gave me my first introduction, if you will, but looking at the world from the eyes of young people and seeing the opportunities, the future is being created right in front of our eyes by a generation of entrepreneurs for whom it's not about building business. It's not about creating unicorns. It's about having impact. And that I find really powerful because it's hard enough to build a business. But then if you're trying to create impact at the same time, that's really challenging. And that's where I feel like some of my experiences, my stories, I can be a shoulder to cry on. I can be a cheerleader. And it's just sort of gone from there. When I interact with the next generation of entrepreneurs, I can feel this passion and this energy. I was at an event much like this at a place like the Pool, and a woman called Reham came up to me, and we started a conversation. And we were interrupted after 30 seconds. And she followed up, and she just persisted, which reminds me exactly of when I was an entrepreneur. And she's a neuroscientist from Oxford. Her partner is a computer scientist. And what they've developed is software which avoids unconscious bias in recruitment. Now, we all suffer from unconscious bias. It's not deliberate. It's because the patterns and Razor referred to this earlier. So investors will use pattern matching. We were successful with a generation of young male entrepreneurs. That's not the right answer going forward. We've got to do what we can to open up opportunities for women, for minorities, for those who have neurodiverse, for instance. And I was privileged to join Mivite's board. This is in 2018, which grew in terms of being able to use artificial intelligence and augmented intelligence to match between a person's CV and the job description, to taking things like gender and race out of the equation. Now, this is a nice little story, and they've grown over the last 5 years to about 18 employees. Just last year, they signed the state of California as a client with 250,000 employees. And this is so exciting for me to see that the tailwinds of trying to create a fairer workforce are being felt right here, right now. And I feel that this is fighting the good fight. Now, I'm often asked about what's my thesis, or what do I look for in my investments? How do I measure impact? But the reality is, for better or for worse, I feel like I'm led by emotion. I look for founders who are really passionate about what they're trying to do and what they want to create, because that's what it takes. At an early stage, you don't have a business plan. At Shazam, we never once hit our plan. Never once. We ruined I feel terrible now. Ajay, our chairman, he said, you ruined every single holiday for me because we lurched from crisis to crisis. But it had a happy ending. And it's the same thing, I think, when you start out, you can't really visualize the impact you're going to have over a long period of time. And through my investments, I call them postcards from the edge. It allows me to look into the future. It's a great privilege to be able to see the future through the eyes of this generation of entrepreneurs. And Steve Jobs had said in his address at Stanford graduation, he said, stay young and stay foolish. I didn't listen to Steve Jobs. I've got old and foolish, as I said. But I think it's okay. I think it's okay. Because it's not about creating success. Creating success is something which is a dream. I'm not challenging that. What I feel like I'm getting is the opportunity of learning for a lifetime. And I think that's what legacies are built on. So if we look back at our lives, look back at the changes we've made, look back at what we stand for, if we have that opportunity to keep learning as we're going, I think that's a blessing. And that's why it's such a delight for me to be here, because I'm learning from every single conversation here at Elevate. I'm learning from every interaction, just speaking to Frederick, for instance, talking about what the pool is trying to do. And learning from people's dreams and hopes and passions. And that's the message which I want to leave you with. I wish you a lifetime of learning. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dheeraj. What an amazing inspiration you are. Your efforts will, of course, do a great impact in our world. My name is Jimmy Wyden. I am the founder of 3SA Estate in Marbella and Dubai. And I'm a proud partner of Elevate. And today I have the honor to introduce Enes. Enes has the biggest YouTube channel in the world. And he's one of the first content creators that realized before COVID that people would search for properties online instead of the boring newspaper ads that we are used to. And he will today get interviewed by a good inspiration for me in Morgan. Morgan started her first PR agency in New York from scratch. She sold it a year ago, and now she's starting up her new one from London. Welcome on stage, Enes and Morgan.
Thank you so much. So, when you think of luxury real estate in Los Angeles, you probably think of selling Sunset. You think of Beverly Hills mansions. You think of lots of high heels and women fighting on camera. But that is not what Ennis does. And so I spent a good amount of time with you this week, and I feel like I've really gotten to know you. And when I think of a couple words to describe you, I would really say that you're a tastemaker and you're a category creator. So not just a category leader, but you've literally created an entire new category on social media. So let's go back to the beginning for a couple minutes. So you grew up in Turkey. You did not come from a family of entrepreneurs. As a teenager, you were a champion windsurfer, which I think is fascinating. And last night, you told me that windsurfing taught you that if you work really, really hard, you can achieve anything that you want. And so you now live in Los Angeles, and you're one of the biggest content creators and cinematographers in real estate. So tell us a little bit about your journey coming from Turkey, how you made it to LA, and what that was like.
Well, it was a hell of a journey. To start off, I was born in Turkey in 1990, and I had a pretty usual childhood. But at the age of 13, I got introduced to the sport of windsurfing, which pretty much changed everything for me. Starting off, it gave me a platform to put all my energy into. And after a few years, I started competing. One thing led to another, couple sponsors. And at the age of 17, 18, and 21, I won the world title in youth category. So that opened up a lot of doors for me. But more importantly, it taught me that when you're disciplined, when you put your mind into something, you can literally be the best in the world. It was my first proof of concept. It gave me the confidence that I needed to say, you know what, as long as I like doing something, I can be good at it. And the windsurfing journey basically led to the US. I moved there when I was 17 years old to Texas, finished my college degree there, got my green card, and I decided to retire from windsurfing at the age of 26 because I kind of did everything I wanted. There wasn't much more for me there. And when I was 22 years old, I bought myself a house in Texas, which was a flip project. And once I completed this construction project, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. As soon as I retire, I'm gonna build houses. That's what I did intensely for 3 years in Texas. And after that, I was like, well, I built houses, I won world titles. Now I just want to go to LA and live my life. And one thing led to another, became a real estate agent, started shooting videos. And it may sound funny, but like, here we are.
So you launched your channel in 2019. So you were pre-COVID, a little bit ahead of the curve. You didn't have any experience. You had no followers. You had no partners. So just on your own. Today you have 4 million subscribers, and I think around 700 million views on your videos collectively. So you have followers on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. How do you build that type of a following in just 4 years? Because for a lot of content creators, it can take 10, 15 years since the beginning of the internet. So how do you do that so quickly?
Momentum is key. Capitalizing on momentum is extremely important, especially in a space like media where you are basically working with an algorithm, and depending on the product you put out there, algorithm has the potential to push you to literally billions of people. When we first started around 2019, I want to say after like 2-3 months in, one of our videos went viral. Well, at the time viral, like a couple thousand views. I was like, wow, just like that. One day you wake up and all of a sudden the views are totally different. And it really gave me the first understanding of how powerful these platforms are. Literally, they have access to billions of people, and depending on how good or how engaging your content is, they can literally push it all around the world. So rather than getting lost in the business dynamics of things and what should I do, what should I not do, we just focused on making better videos. And that kept the range really short and made it easy for us to focus. How about we just make better videos? How about we find better homes? How about we take more time? How about we edit them better? And rather than trying to predict everything, let's just be really good at what we do. And the other thing I would say is, I'm not recommending this to people, but when you work 50, 60 hours, you get a lot done. When you work 90, 100 hours, you get a whole lot more done. But when you can work 100, 120 hours a week enthusiastically, the amount of momentum you will create, you'll literally run over years and months. I literally had it happen in front of me where we would grow so fast that people won't see me for 2 months. They're like, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. They're like, channel blew up. Did it? Like, the momentum never felt weird to me because it was just there at a time. But we just capitalized on it, keep growing it, never satisfied with the product we made. I always say our product is always a 9, never a 10. I'm always chasing the 10.
I love it. And one thing you said to me that I thought was really interesting, and I've read this in the headlines, and a lot of people say this, but you said every company needs to be a media company. Specifically, every real estate company will need to become that, especially in the age that we're entering. So how do you, have you always thought about that? And how do you think about that in the day-to-day?
Well, I think everybody takes media, social media as what they see, but I have a simpler way of looking at it. Essentially, media and social media to me is a leveraging tool. All it is in the world where authenticity is so important and so valuable, we want to convey that. We want to build these important, valuable relationships with people. We want to have connection. But when you're a single person, when you're a company, you can only do that so much in person. So what is the second best option? In my opinion, it's video, because you get to see someone showcase their talent, inform the audience, whatever you want to call it, but you get to see their authentic version on a video. You get to see their body language. You get a chance to learn so much about them and so much about their business. And again, packaged well, you can reach to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, which is insane when you think about it in person. Trying to think about that you're getting your face in front of 1 million people. It would be impossible. Well, with video, you can easily do that. Like on a given day, our channels combined, I think we reach about 1 million to 1.5 million people a day. That's insane. So that's power of media. And I think everybody, whether you have a personal brand, whether you have a company, you should capitalize on that. Figure out a way to deliver your message via video and make it interesting for the audience. Don't make it about yourself. Don't think that everybody's out there ready to soak it in whatever information you're going to provide. Give them the value, make it about them, and by making it about them and making it good, it'll be about you.
So I want you to talk a little bit about the tastemaker piece of this, because I love the word tastemaker. And last night we talked about your relationship to luxury and how, you came to Los Angeles, you didn't have relationships with the best car brokers or the watch companies or, all of the luxury items that go into these houses, and you've had to create these relationships. And you know all of these brands. So you sort of have a network of these luxury brands that come to you and they trust you. And so how do you think about your relationship to luxury and real estate and sort of, cementing yourself as that tastemaker?
Well, it all starts from the fact that I love improving. I love being better at what I do every single day. So there's never an ending when it comes to learning. You can always learn more. Even more importantly, you can understand more. And from that aspect, when we started the journey, it was always about making videos as good as possible. And not to say there's a ceiling to that. You can always make better videos. But the other way I've thought that we could give a better access to our viewers is by giving the information in its most authentic way. So what I realized is as we started, we would tour $10, $20 million homes. I'm going to say they were relatively easy to access because I live in LA and it's like I can just drive 10 minutes and you have hundreds of these homes. But when you get into the world of $50 million properties, $100 million properties, landmark estates, mega yachts over 200 to 300, 400 feet long, you're going into a very specific audience, very specific level of wealth where it's not about money, it's not about your fame. The only way you can really convince these individuals is by showing them that you have such a good understanding of what you do and how to convey these kind of assets as a third party to the world that they will actually trust you to be like, you know what, have at it. Bring your cameras, we will allow you to shoot. So there's no book for this kind of knowledge. There's no, this is all culture, this is all understanding, this is all taking the time, meeting each business individual, craftsman, connoisseur, tastemaker, whatever you want to call them, one by one, and taking the time to learn 1% of 1% through them, and really building that authentic understanding, which in return relates to the way we make the videos, relates to the way we craft these stories. And that is our marketing, that is our brand, and that goes out to the world. Thankfully, videos are going viral, and that brings us to the next set of people who are willing to share their stories with the world through us.
Love it. And when you think to the future, you know, there's thousands of real estate developers and brokers, and, you know, there's going to be more content creators because of you. So when you think about all of these, you know, the next 10 years, who are the winners going to be, and why? You know, because I assume some of these people will die out, but some are going to rise to the top. So yeah, who are the winners going to be?
So this is a great question, and I will talk about YouTube and, let's just say, new media space rather than the traditional media space. So when you start a YouTube channel, and, you know, I'll kind of explain a little bit of the journey that I'm on, you focus on being a good content creator. And what does that mean? Well, you focus on making good videos, you focus on building a team, building a company. We have a team of 15, 12 full-time in Los Angeles, 3 part-time in Philippines. So it's a relatively small but a mighty team. They're actually on a flight right now from LA to Thailand, and I'm literally getting on a flight in 2 hours from here to there. So we're constantly traveling, making content. So that's one aspect of it. It's not an easy thing to master, but you can put together a nice media team, production team. But then you have a really positive, but a really weird problem in your hand. You have millions of people, if not billions of people, in the case of YouTubers, watching you, authentically interested in you and what you have to say. But now you want to, let's just say, sell a service, a product, something that is totally outside of that box. And basically, you have to create a totally new business. And even harder than that, you have to dynamically link these both to each other, where they authentically work with each other. So it's not an easy model to craft. That's why you see a lot of these YouTubers with 10, 15, 20 million subscribers. But to a degree, it doesn't go further than that. But now, with the world we live, few creators have managed to break that pattern and start creating brands like Prime for Logan Paul and KSI, you know, Feastables with Mr. Beast. And I can give Emma Chamberlain, but Chamberlain Coffee, where they are managing to build totally separate businesses who are driven by these individuals and create really dynamic companies. And I'm pretty confident to say that in the next 10 years, we got to have at least 20 to 30 billionaires that are YouTubers, simply because I think more people are going to figure out this format and build something more dynamic and interesting.
And do you think it's still going to be Los Angeles, or is it going to be Dubai? Like, where are these YouTubers going to flock to as the next big destination?
I mean, YouTube in its core essence is a bit of a risk-taking. So cities that are progressive, fast, and risk-taking cities will always thrive. So in that case, New York, Los Angeles in the United States, definitely Dubai. Some from London. There are already a bunch of really good creators coming out of London. So the cities that are dynamic and cities that have a lot of resources will tend to yield more content creators.
Mm-hmm. And I hear that you're working on a new project with Razor, our founder. So can you give us a little sneak peek into what's coming? And this is off the record, so.
Absolutely. So going with that tastemaker approach, one of the things that I really focused the last 3 years is, for example, we'll go to Cape Town and make 3 videos. Everybody assumes that I'm going there to make 3 videos. On the back end, I meet 6 to 7 architects, I meet developers, I meet locals, I meet politicians. That's just so I can really understand the area, understand what works for that population. And I do that everywhere I travel. So literally, we have this rule. Anytime we go somewhere to shoot, the calendar needs to be packed to a T. Like, whoever we can meet, whoever we can learn from, they have to stack up the calendar. It's filled with dinners. It's filled with sightseeing. It's like we shoot probably 70, 80 properties a year right now in the last 12 months. I easily see 600 to 700 homes a year. That's an underestimation. So like, I always make my time count. And from that aspect, the reason I wanted to do that is take this opportunity, build a team who gets to experience these locations, these assets authentically, and hopefully we can craft unique products, developments in the world. We can where we can put this influence on these properties. And that's exactly what we're doing with Razor. It's a development project in Canada where we're basically rezoning and redeveloping this land and turning into a subdivision and hopefully a community that will help the region and make it better and bring all these things, little nuances that we learn from across the world and apply it and make something one of a kind.
Well, I'm so excited to see what you do in the future, and I can't wait to follow your journey. It's so exciting, and I just think you're an incredible person. And if you haven't watched his YouTube videos yet, check him out. They're amazing. Won't be disappointed. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Morgan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Everyone, big round of applause for Enes and Morgan. How amazing was that? Enes, super grateful to be partnering with you, taking all of your globally relevant experience and building the first Enes community in my backyard in Canada. It's going to be world class, like everything you do. Thank you so much, Enes, again, for everything you do. If you haven't seen his videos, you have to subscribe to him literally today. Enes has more influence. He has 40 to 50 million viewers every single month, which is more than every property show on Netflix combined. Just think about that. Right here in Marbella, right? We're doing things that are world class, and it's just the beginning. Morgan is an incredible publicist. We are proud to be her first client at her new PR agency. She's our head of communications. And I stress that because it's important to support female founders, okay? Open your wallet, write checks, become customers of female-run businesses. Venture capitalists give women founders 2 cents on every dollar they give male founders. It's unacceptable. All the women in the room are like, yes, yeah, I'll do that too, right? Like, we're not gonna solve, right? Astrid, it's ridiculous. Support a female founder today. Jimmy, right? Jimmy is, helping sell Marbella, right? New show we're making. So many people who are experiencing Marbella. We have 50 people who joined us at Elevate today. Some are our local hosts who have been such gracious hosts, but most of them are experiencing Marbella for the first time. And after about the first day or so, they're like, Razor, tell me about real estate, right? Because they want to live here, right? This is like living the dream. This is paradise. And what I would say is why we partnered with Jimmy is that, he's 3 steps ahead, 3SA. And Jimmy, you're doing amazing work. Thank you for helping our community find a home or second home here in Marbella, because we'd love to see more of them in the room. And then finally, the pool, right? 2 of my favorite co-working spaces, the pool and Volubilis, just down the road, are 10 minutes apart, okay? Make sure you tweet at the pool, Marbella, share what we talked about today publicly, exchange ideas, connect. Let's all be a part of making Marbella sort of the next great tech hub. Thank you so much. My name is Razor. Enjoy the rest of your day.